Today I want to talk all about how to recover from depersonalization and derealization, my specific journey with DPDR. I'm doing a couple more videos here and outside of my front door because it's cold and I'm just getting over from the flu, so I still have a little bit of a cough in the background. So I'll be in front of this, as Moment calls it, the CIA headquarters because of the light in the back wall, but I'm going to be working on the backdrop here soon. So depersonalization and derealization, which I'm going to call DP and DR for the remainder of the video. One of the best explanations on print in a book that I've ever seen is Paul David's book, At Last a Life. There's an entire chapter on DPDR, which is the 5th book on the reading list. If you're looking for that book, OCDrecovery.com underneath the resource tab. Before I go any further, as always, please subscribe, hit that like button, comment down below. Let me know if DP and DR is something you've been struggling with. Maybe you're finding this for the first time and you're thinking, holy shit, I had no idea. Maybe you took some edible marijuanas or you smoked some really strong marijuana and it kind of was an onset. We see that a lot where people have taken drugs, large amounts of drugs, acid and shrooms. Existential OCD, fear of the afterlife, solipsism, fear of being in a video game, fear of already being dead. And then DP and DR can actually just be a chronic anxiety symptom. When someone's been chronically anxious for a long time, a lot of people have that like dissociative symptom. So, and if you're interested in our coaching and webinar services, please email info@ocdrecovery.com and we'll get back to you in a timely fashion. So, when I first developed really bad OCD, I didn't have DP and DR. It wasn't for like 3 months. So it started off with 3 months of chronic tinnitus fears, super anxious, constant panic attacks, no sleep. Then I had sensory motor for over 2 years. In between that, I developed dysmorphia really badly and panic disorder. I was having just random panic attacks. Once I was about halfway into sensory motor, so a year in, that's when I had DPDR for about 2 years. And it was basically my background state for all day long. So I would wake up, have a little bit of clarity, and before I even notice it, I would just be in this like DPDR kind of realm of this disassociation. So people might be asking, how do I know if I have DPDR and what does that look like? So DP and DR look like, from a standpoint of what it looks like to you, it's almost like, I use a couple different analogies. You have a fish bowl around your head and the water's really murky, kind of like when the bottom gets stirred up in sand in the ocean. So you're kind of like seeing this like disassociativeness. It's not only do you see that, it also is the way you feel. You feel a lack of presentness. You feel that you're not connected with other people. You feel as if you're there, but you can't feel any emotions. You're almost flatline, like your total baseline. So no extreme happiness, no extreme negative emotions like sadness or anger. It's just like this monotone flatness of life where nothing really matters. Excuse me. I always used to say that I could, I always used to say that I could basically see some really tragic event happen in front of me and it wouldn't really affect me because I was so desensitized to being in this state. And I remained that way for a long time. Like I was in this constant limbo of depersonalization and derealization where I just didn't feel anything. I felt so disconnected from the world. I couldn't, and the more I tried, so the biggest mistakes that people make with DP and DRs or any feeling, chasing feelings, well, I tried so hard to chase happiness in the way I was feeling that it became this self-fulfilling reassurance nightmare where I was just constantly chasing this emotion again. So what you want to do when it comes to recovery from DP and DR. Number one is accepting the sensation is going to be there for a while. So building the lifestyle structures, going back to work, hanging out with your children, going on vacations. The same repetitive stuff you hear me talk about in all my other videos about lifestyle stuff. I can't explain to you how important that stuff is. So getting back out there and living your life again as best as you can whilst experiencing DPDR. Understanding that it's just like any other symptom, chronic shame, chronic guilt, physical symptoms of anxiety, such as like blurry vision, heart palpitations. So again, that will help you realize that it is part of just this anxiety, mental exhaustion cycle that many people are caught in because their nerves are so sensitized for so long. The energy is just wiped. You have no, it's almost like the energy to pick up a pen and write your name is like, oh my gosh. So that was a really big, important, key piece of advice. Now, the third, second, and third thing, that's the most important. Now, this is something that Paul David doesn't talk about in his book, but it's very key because OCD is very different than GAD. The same principles apply. You know, if you have GAD, the fear of being anxious forever, fear, and all that. But with OCD, it doesn't just budge as easily with leaving it there as it can with GAD and panic disorder when you learn to kind of distance yourself from those sensations and building it back out. Because OCD kind of tends to be the top dog, one could say, in how it latches and morphs and intertwines. There will need to be some sort of acceptance that it may never go. Now, realizing that acceptance doesn't mean agreement. Now, if you go to our YouTube channel and go to our acceptance playlist, you can type in acceptance doesn't mean agreement and it will come up. It's a video Kirsty did about 1.5 years ago. And that is really important to realize that that is a key part of the recovery process of DPDR, is realizing that the sensation is not as bad as we thought. So, wearing it everywhere, just like any other symptom, not avoiding anything, absolutely no avoidance behaviors, building up time and time again. Number 2, realizing it being a symptom of the anxiety cycle and the OCD cycle, just like shame and guilt, the core fear, the fear of noticing this for the rest of your life, the fear of being burned out forever, the fear of not being present, the fear of not knowing who you are, the loss of your personality. I always like to break this down, like this really affects a lot of people. There's no such thing as an introvert and an extrovert. This is the biggest myth in personality tests. Someone who is considered an introvert by even like Myers-Briggs can change and be more extroverted. I've heard stuff say like, you can change, but you never really change who you are. There is no proof, no hard evidence to prove that whatsoever. I will stick by my guns with that. There is no such thing as an introvert and an extrovert. Those concepts do not exist. They only exist to us, you know, and a lot of times it's just a fear. So when someone says I was listening to a podcast this morning when they said, oh, you know, I'm an introvert. Not really. You're just afraid and you have a low frustration tolerance of being in big crowds. I'm not saying you have to like it, but it has nothing to do with being an introvert or an extrovert. It has nothing to do with that. So those are the principles I wanted to cover today. Kind of a shorter video. These 8 to 10 minute videos work really well when I'm covering just like a how-to video, how to recover. They're quick, they're simple, they're short. Ask as many questions as you want in the comment section. And I have no DPDR anymore at all. That was something that really afflicted my life for a really long time. So thank you so much for watching. Again, if you have any questions, interested in our webinar and coaching services, please email info@ocdrecover.com. I'm doing a free webinar on February 14th. That will be a lot of fun for my birthday webinar, but we have to push it back a lot. So email in, get some spaces. They're filling up fast. About half the space is already gone. See you guys soon. Have a good one, everyone.